Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the platform. Good to see you again on another Wednesday in a new week with a new conversation. Good to see you after a long time. I haven't appeared in the past 2 weeks. Comrade Pilato did a fill-in for me, and I saw you guys had amazing conversations about a lot of things. I'm glad I saw a huge turnout of people joining in, talking about the Remembrance 2 sessions that happened, which is very, 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 very beautiful thing. Well, to steal a bit of the words from our new president, it's a new dawn, new conversations, new discussions, new people. A whole new everything, new government, probably new parliament, new conversations, new policies. I hope everything becomes new. Well, good to see you after a long time. As usual, my name is Mumbi and I'm your host on the platform. A show that comes to you every Wednesday, right here on the pages Pilato, on the pages Pilato Bags, and also on Pilato's YouTube page as well. Today we're having a very interesting discussion as usual, and I love to call it the new dawn because it has everything new. We are talking about the new president. So many things have happened in the past week as we're heading towards our elections. But obviously, the most new thing that we are having is having a new president and a new government, not just a new president, but a new ruling party, which is quite amazing, not only by the president, but also by the number of members of parliaments. The composition of parliaments have changed so quickly and so interestingly, and so much to watch. We saw a lot of interesting events happening during the election period, the independent candidates taking over seats, the UPND taking over some strongholds of the UPND. But anyway, all that is a whole big, interesting conversation. But let's get to it. We have a new president as a country, which I think is a very good thing. With the past experiences that we had, the past complaints that we're having, it's good to have a new individual, to have a new conversation, to have new complaints. So, my people, good to see you in the new dawn. But before we get into the conversation, I have a clip that I want to share with you guys, particularly because of today's conversation. We are talking about the new president and the new government. What are your expectations as citizens of this country about the new government? We had so much to say about the past government. I think we still have so much to say to the new government as far as the new leadership is concerned, and what types of things rather we would want to see in our country happen. So I'm going to share this video with you, and then we'll proceed with our user interaction this program. Remember, I post a link in the comment section. You get to click on the link to join in, and have an identifiable name, and switch on your camera for me to be able to allow you to join in and give a contribution to today's discussion. So for now, let's hold on as we watch this video, and then we'll come and give reactions to it, as well as give a comment on our today's discussion. So
it's nighttime in Lusaka when the news begins to spread, and soon there are scenes of ecstasy on the streets of the Zambian capital. Hours later, supporters of the newly elected president are still celebrating, thrilled to see Hakainde Hichilema finally elected president of Zambia. For the 59-year-old opposition figure, it was sixth time lucky.
It is with great honor, humility, gratitude that I stand before you today to say change is here.
The president of the United Party for National Development ended up winning 1 million votes more than his opponent, Edgar Lungu, who has led the country since 2015. But now the hard work begins for Hichilema. Many Zambians have high expectations for the new president.
I think he's got a lot of work to do. It's the youth vote that has ushered him to State House. And he must immediately address the issue of unemployment.
You know, we have a lot of youth, a lot of teachers, a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses. New government, they have to look after them.
Hichilema will inherit a very difficult economic situation. His predecessor has been heavily criticized for borrowing too much money from China to finance major infrastructure works. So much money, in fact, that last fall Zambia became the first African country to default on its debt in 15 years.
Well, that was a short clip that was shared on one of the international media houses, a short documentary or a short capture of the events that were happening in the country, which is quite amazing. Anyway, I'm got distracted. I saw an interesting comment there, which I'll respond to. And I'm glad that it's come here so that I can respond to it publicly and just give a public position about that particular opinion from Simon. Anyway, like I said, we are going to get into our program as we usually get into it. We are talking about the new president, the new government ushered in. The inauguration will be next week. I believe it should be on a Tuesday as per constitution. And we are going to be having our president sworn in, which means business begins to run then. But we are coming from an area which has got a lot of scars and a lot of wounds that have not yet healed. In fact, I think scars is an understatement. We still have a lot of wounds that have not yet healed. And we know that right now we are expecting a lot of things to come from the new government. And most likely we are expecting those things to come and heal most of the wounds that we've been having from the previous government. Looking at that, we know that as citizens, we do have a lot of expectations, which will in turn be used as a tool to address the issues that have been affecting citizens for the past 7 years or more, or better yet, influence what we would want to see, whether we saw it before or not. So anyway, I've shared the link in the comment section. Feel free to click on the link, switch on your camera and put an identifier name for you to be able to comment successfully on today's discussion. I'll let you in on the platform, and then we'll get to have a conversation. So I can already see a lot of other. I can already see a lot of other comments, but I want you to get to join through the link, and then you can be able to speak on your behalf. I'm glad that I can see a lot of people joining us from the comment section, which is amazing. I can see that people being active and they're already getting interested into the conversation. So please feel free to click on the link. When you click on the link, I'll be able to add you here, and then we can be able to have a discussion about today's government. So as I'm waiting for people to join in, something very interesting about our new president, as you heard in the video, it was called the 60th time lucky. This is a person who's been in opposition for quite some time, for 23 years now, and has tried to be a president for the past 5 times and got lucky on the 60th time. Something very interesting. So I already see a few people coming to join in, and I think I've interacted before. I'll start with Mr. Ivo. Are you able to hear me? Hi, Mr.
Yes, I can hear you, Mumbi. How are you? Yes, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. Good to see you again. I can even remember your face and your name.
Thank you so much. Good to see you in the new government.
Thank you, Mr. Ivo. We have an interesting conversation. We have a new government. What are your expectations?
The expectations in Mumbi, they are very high. Especially that is the youth that have ushered the UPND in, to be in government. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate you guys for the work that you have done to ensure that at least the change that people needed has been attained. You may not know the impact of what you do through the advocates that you push, but really men of independent opinions, they depend on what you say and what you do, and the decisions are made through you. So we thank you for that. So the expectations for the new government, first and foremost, not everyone will have a job. So those of us who are into business or entrepreneurship, the new government should at least try to cut off some taxes which makes it impossible for one to register a business. There are so many factors that can be dealt with where you can reduce some of the things that are not even necessary. There are some businesses, for example, farmers, it takes about 10,000 so for it to be registered. So if this government can look into some of the small businesses which do not need colossal sums of money to be registered, so that that money can be used for capital. Then, in supporting the private sector in form of businesses, it will help those of us who are managers or directors to employ more people if we are empowered to grow or expand our businesses. Mostly I laugh when I look at the teachers, they are not employed, they have gone to college or university, all of them, they want to go in government. The reason is very simple. If these guys or the government or the new government, so to say, can empower those who have well-established private schools, if they can empower these schools, which are well-structured, well-established, registered, we will see that these people, these teachers who are unemployed, at least a good number of them will be employed in the private sector with a view that these schools at least will pay them better than government. Therefore, it will reduce pressure on everyone wants to go in government. But what do we see in the PF government? What was there is nothing about school. They can open school anytime. They close it in.
I think we've lost Mr. Ivo. I'll remove him for a while. I can see Mr. Luhana. You are welcome, sir. How are you? Good to have you on the program.
I'm fine, and how are you? How is Fumbe Pirato there?
He's okay. I'll pass on my regards.
How is feeling now? Is Tola Bonzo, youth to run Bonzo, Tutanguruve? How is feeling now?
It would be good to ask Mr. Tutanguluwe on his own. Now that we can give him a
okay, let me continue it. Now I'm happy because I'm in business for mining in Eastern Province, especially in Undazi. So I remember sort of things which these policemen were doing to us. They are sending police officers to the mine down in Chifunda area there. They are grabbing our material, our gold that side. So I'll be happy if Mr. Kanganja should be fired. Because and Esther Matakatongo fired. And this Charity Katanga fired. We don't want those police cadres now this time, because now we are in government. This government going to help us. Me again have 172 workers at the mine there in Rundazi. But the problem with these police officers, they are grabbing our materials. Because I can employ it. 150 workers. It's not only the government can employ all the youth here. No. Me, I can employ on my own. As long as I have that little money, I can manage to help others also. Not the way they are doing these government PF cadres. No, we don't want that. So just greet my full Pilato there to continue blessing us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Luhana, for coming through. Okay. We have Mr. Elvin. Boss, good evening. How are you? Good to have you on the program. Okay, your mic is on mute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've unmuted your mic.
You can hear me right now?
We can hear you loud and clear, Chief.
Oh yeah, as you can see, I'm actually at work, and I was very much interested in joining the program via should be Facebook on Pilato's page. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
let me just see what's trying to happen. You know, the guy is always progressive in everything that he does. You know, I like it, and he inspires me a lot. So I was like, I'm sure there's something positive that is being talked about, especially that he posted something that is gonna be live in the evening. So, talking about my expectations though, I think we are overtaxed. So,
Yeah.
I would love the government just to look into it, just to reduce the burden. You know, it's just too much. You can get as much money as possible, but at the end of the day, you find that you share half with the government. The government get the half, and you go with the half. So if the tax is being reduced, you know, we are employees, of course, but there are a lot of things that we aspire to do out there. But if the government is continuously stacking some tax on top of us, and every time we get paid, it gets into your pocket, it's very difficult even to make it to an extent whereby you're able to employ your other friends. You know, there's a lot of there's high unemployment levels out there, and it's like the other colleague said, it's not everybody who is going to get employed. So it is good that they look into people who are already employed, so that they can reduce the
Yeah.
tax to encourage them to invest in other things that are going to bring in revenue. In turn, we're going to start employing other people as well. So that is the number one thing that I would love the president to look into. And like because there was no investment like in the country, you know.
Yeah.
The country, the government will get huge sums of money from abroad and do nothing with it. So instead, when time for paying back comes in, the whole burden is put on every Zambian who didn't even benefit from the credit or yeah. So the only option that they had was to tax those who are working. So right now we want the government to find good investment for the country so that we'll be able to generate the money even after they borrow, so that we are also eased from these huge tax that are put on each and every Zambian. Yeah, so that's basically what I can say.
Mr. Elvin, thank you very much. You made a very powerful submission as far as people pay tax and the pay as you earn. It's been a very big conversation of what will happen to the pay as you earn, and for a long time now, people have talked about how it must be reduced or even at least cut in half. So I appreciate that you had that thought, and thank you very much for joining in tonight's
Thank you
conversation.
very much. I gotta go for work before I'm fired.
All right.
Is
Mr. Wiseman, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, and how are you?
I'm all right. What happened last time with the camera and the lights?
Yeah, as usual, we are always on the load and always trying to make some money. So sometimes the
Yeah,
broadcast I will find that on the way, and we have to find the way where we can settle and
yeah.
join our good conversation.
No,
How's my?
I appreciate that you're here tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. How's my friend who Pilato and Moto?
It's very okay. I'll pass on my regards on or your regards on your behalf.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think as your question, I've got two different opinions was my expectation. Number one, I think on the
Mhm.
issue of the new government, I think we have seen some forgiveness from our president and something which our president is trying to bring the country together. I think we understand and we appreciate such kind of gesture which the president is bringing in our country to unite our country. But to my side, I never voted for change on the basis of uniting the country, and I never voted for change on the basis of trying to reconcile with some people. I voted for change because I wanted to understand where our resources were going. I wanted to know how some people became billionaires overnight. I wanted to know how who was involved in those expired drugs, and we asked those questions, and no one were there to answer us. So I thought of changing government that government is going to assist us to make sure that those questions can be answered. We know how we bought those fire trucks at 1 million, such kind of questions. We know people who gassed us. All those questions, they're still learning. Some of us, we lost our friends, our brothers, and our sisters through such kind of activities of gassing. Those serial killers, all those things. I think, in as much as our president is trying to unite the country, I think those things they have to be dealt with as early as possible, so that we know exactly what was happening in our country. We can, yes, to forgive is something which we believe in as Zambia. We are one Zambia, one nation. But if someone does a wrong thing, where some people were caught disgruntled, where some people were punished to go and protest in the bush, we were watching all those things we are firing in our hearts, and that thing make us to wake up 04 to go and queue up on the line to make sure that we can change this regime. So for me, I think as much as we are trying to forgive each other and trying to unite the country, I think justice must prevail and justice must flow to those people. There are some people who brought the issue of tribalism, hate speeches, and in our constitution, such kind of activities, it is a crime, just like murdering, just like stealing for someone. So why should you allow such kind of people to be scot free? What kind of message are going to be preaching to our children? So for me, all those people have to be brought to book so that they can answer to those queries. Lastly, and my second one is about what I think the government is going to achieve in terms of youth employment. I think we don't want to be employed in government, all of us. That kind of a thing can never work. Or what we are looking for is for the proper conducive environment, the good empowerment, not this empowerment of cadres just to give a huge sum of money to cadres just because someone has got no skill. At least if you can have some skill centers where you can be drawing some skills and try to empower them, just like the way Paul Kagame was doing in Rwanda, where you try to look for people with skills and try to empower them for them to employ their fellow youth and encourage them to understand the importance of paying taxes so that as you are empowering them, they are paying to the government and the government is able to pay those civil servants. That one is very important. So for me, I think I know this government, they are putting things in place. And when it comes to cabinet as well, I want to see the mixed cabinet where I'll see women's, men, and young people like you and like Biflos, such kind of activity. They can be involved in our parliament, where we know the president has got the mandate to nominate as a member of parliament. If you can just think of maybe nominating young people, like a lot of people who manage to go and protest in the bush, try to organize them so that they can take this voice in parliament. I think such kind of a thing is going to make me happy, and I'm going to count on my vote to say I did my vote. My vote is ready now. So I think for me, those are some of the few expectations which I am expecting to see from this movement.
Mr. Wiseman, thank you so much for your submission. I'm sure the government is watching and they are learning from the people on what they expect from them. You have a good night and thank you so much for contributing in tonight's conversation.
Thank you very much for following the program.
All right. Mr. Muvanga Boss, how are you? Your mic is on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I think I've done that. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm well, thank you. A new era, a new dawn. One can only be well. And I would like to pass my regards to Pilato. I think I had my first engagement with him on a Twitter space. There was a Twitter space he was brought on, I think, that other week. And his wisdom is through the roof. Like, it's the first time I engaged Pilato, and I would love to extend my regards to him, even as I say good evening to you yourself.
Thank you so much. I'll do that.
Sure. So, new government, new president. What are my expectations? Well, largely I'm going to focus on graft and corruption. And even as I delve on those two, I would love to get back to the one phrase that used to drive me mad. Sonta epoa bomba. that phrasing just used to make me grate my teeth. And I say so because I remember I used to speak to some people. I would say, if you are a father and it is your
Yeah.
obligation to provide. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. We can hear you loud
Yeah.
and clear.
Yeah, so I was saying, if you are a father and your natural obligation is to provide for your children, would you go out there hululating in the streets about you having bought Millie Meal, having bought Relish, having paid for the power? Because that's your obligation, that's your responsibility. Yeah, so that's on Tau Power Wamba phrasing. I really had, I had an issue with it. But anyway, that aside, that Sonta Opoa Obomba was strictly focused on the infrastructure development, as it were. The same infrastructure development that ballooned our national debt. With the new government, new president, yes, they're taking on the reins, but they're taking on the reins that are that are heavily burdened by a heavy national debt. Then someone says, no, we borrowed for infrastructure development. I remember listening to Sunday Chanda justifying the borrowing for them having borrowed to build. But then you ask yourself, what really did we build?
Sure.
Away from Lusaka. I know some people who are within Lusaka will probably argue, we've got roads in Lusaka, but away from Lusaka.
Yeah.
Because Zambia is not just Lusaka. What did we build? So we have we have the value of the infrastructure that we built does not match the money that we are indebted for. So you say, we built a toll gate. You go and look at the toll gate, they tell you it's a $4.3 billion US toll gate. But when you look at it, you're thinking, okay, I've been in building, I've built a house.
Yeah.
What is here? What is it that is here that justifies the $4.3 million? So the value of the infrastructure that we call is our infrastructure. Why is it triple in cost? But the value of it, even at face value, when you just look at it, doesn't seem to match. So basically, going into the new government, new president, my expectations is that we need a serious lifestyle audit. And I'm not just talking about the political leaders. If you take an inventory across the board of our system, if you take a serious inventory, you go into parastatals like ZESCO, parastatals like Zamtel, mayor directors who are just directors at those parastatals seem to live their lives beyond the means. We know that they have a certain salary scale, but they are wealthy. They're super wealthy. They're thinking, okay, so what's the salary scale for a director of ZESCO or director of Zamtel? Move away from the parastatals. You go into a ministry. Simple directors of ministries are super wealthy. Simple permanent secretaries of ministries are super wealthy. So how is it? Do we have a salary scale? What is it? Where does the money come from? Those are the questions we need to be asking. Not just the ministers, the MPs. No, we need to look at we need to overhaul the entire system. People have to justify their wealth. They have to their wealth should marry with what they get as pay. And now we have most largely across the country, I think 90%, if not 80% of the MPs that are going into parliament, most of them are first timers. We know them from where they're coming from. We know what car they drive. We know how many houses they have. If they are renting, we know. But if after 5 years, we find them, they've got farms, they've got filling stations, they've got trucking companies, they've got buses, God,
Okay, I think we've lost Mr. Muvanga there. Mr. Perry, good evening from the diaspora. If my memory is serving me right.
You are very right. Well, a new dawn has come for sure, and I'm really elated. But again, the country is in serious problems, and one of the things that I would like the new government to address is the public accounting system, account system. It's a leaking bucket, you know. And if I were to tell you to go and draw water with a leaking bucket, you'll never get full, right? So the government has to look. We need to change the processes and procedures. We need an overhaul of the complete system. That's the first one. The second one is that we know that we had an influx of these cadres at the bus stations, the city market, and stuff like that. We are all saying they should be removed, but no one is saying where are they going to go, you know. And we national service has to be revamped, you know. Take those people to national service, let them be productive and earn a living out of that. Because if you're going to take out the livelihood from them, you know, without addressing the issue of how they're going to feed their families, this is going to increase a lot of crime. So
yeah,
the government has to take them to national service, give them jobs. You know, the national service has farms; they can go do work there. And the third one is we seriously need to recover the loot, and it's really unfathomable what the previous regime did. Those guys have stolen a lot. So I agree with the previous speaker. Like we need forensic audits, we need lifestyle audits. You know, like if I can't even afford a bicycle today, and then tomorrow I buy a limo. Come on, you know. So HH has to be serious on these issues, and we really need change. And then the other one is the Constitutional Court. I think it's just a waste of time and resources, man. That thing that they just have to do away with. The Supreme Court can take over those cases. And the next one is the police IG and the ECZ officials. I think these have to be appointed through parliament. Because if you're going to vest the president so much power that he is going to appoint these people who have allegiance towards the hiring authority. And are you going to bite the finger that feeds you? As I said, the constitution of Zambia has so many lacunas that need to be addressed. You know, you have people that procured expired medicines. They are there walking on the streets. Bana Bangkok were in prison.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It
doesn't make sense. You're actually talking about the same thing that the conversation that I had with my comrade just an hour ago was saying individuals that steal from the future of an entire country are working freely, and there's someone who's and they're in prison right now, and it's very, very, very unbelievable because there are individuals who've gotten an entire generation, stolen the entire generation, the wealth, the success, everything, and they'll still walk freely on the streets. And someone steals a chicken, and they. I
was speaking with a friend of mine there the other day. They say, well, you know, getting a job in these government institutions, it's just relatives hiring their relatives, you know. Yeah, the government can address that by having, creating a toll-free line where people can report these issues, and whistleblowers need to be protected. You know, and the last one is just mainly a plea to the incoming government. You know, they have a majority parliament, and they can effect whatever they can, make changes or however they wish to. But the people have realized how powerful the vote is.
Yes.
And if they're not going to deliver, they will just they'll just be there for 5 years. You know, and I'm hopeful, and I'm praying that they're going to deliver what they've promised. But again, this is one Zambia, one nation. We have to look at the development of places like the northwestern province. It's embarrassing, man. Like So it's just that one. The president has to make sure that one, the standard for that office is raised. And this issue whereby someone, you know, that someone store and then they can sit, they can go and vie for president. The law should not buy you. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to even try to aspire for such offices. But we heard that someone stole a client's money somewhere, and then you go ahead and, you know, usher them as the head of the. That's why the looting is there. You know? So that's all I had to contribute. But I hope I'm hopeful. I think that it's a new dawn, and a lot of things are going to change, and we're going to be proud to wave that flag. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Perry. Before you go, please make sure you go in the comment section. There's an individual who say they don't find the idea, they disagree with the view to do away with the court. And she says the idea and the rationale of having the court is good. The issue is political interference, just like any other court of justice, just like any other court, justice will not prevail if there's persistent interference from the state actors. I don't know how.
My question is who controlled it?
What if the lady was
who controlled it? The president controlled that.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of. That's why I say that should be squashed, because the allegiance is to the appointing authority. Who has those people that sit in that court? You know, that's where the problem is. There's no one to provide checks and balances. You know, and my fear as well with this new government is that, you know, the majority MPs are from the UPND. Who's going to offer checks and balances? That's my fear, because I don't know how it's going to be.
That's why citizens come in. But Mr. Perry, I don't want to keep you for a long time, because you and I will end up having a whole chat. So I'll allow you to leave, and then just stick around for the next session. You can still follow up the discussion in the comment section.
Absolutely.
Please do. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Mr. Ivor, thank you so much for rejoining. Please, you can pick it up from where you left us.
Yes, apologies for congesting your StreamYard. I had run out of bandwidth. I didn't notice. So I was saying that the new government should really look into supporting businesses, entrepreneurs. On the ground, young people are really working very hard, but they need support. If these businesses are supported through reduction of taxes, through doing away with some of the registration that has to do with money, they hinder a lot of people to register them. If they can look into those, it will help those businesses to expand, and in return, they will employ the unemployed in all the sectors: education, microfinances, the tamangas, all these, they should look into them and should find a systematic way of doing it, such that the empowerment goes to the intended people. Then the other one is they should reduce cabinet, the number of people to be in the cabinet. There are some ministries which are not so important. If you look at the religious ministry, if you look at there are some ministries which anyway they don't even make sense. They should do also that money can be saved and be channeled to other important national issues. Then the other one, which is of my concern, is the issue of cadreism. I think it is even making it's the topic of the day. The discussion has already started on how they are going to do it, but they should ensure that it is implemented. They should ensure that they remove all these guys that terrorize people, all these guys that collects money from small businesses. Last time I'm into microfinance, I went to collect some some money somewhere in town, and I was told for someone to operate there, they have to pay to a certain card, another card, accounts, and all that. They should make sure that they do away with these people, because the small profits they make, they pay to a lot of people. By so doing, these people will make a lot of money and do not demand for a lot of jobs. Those were my views, Mumbi. I had a lot of things that I need to expect from the new government. But you guys, Ilato, the Biflos, and everybody in the youth parliament, youth for parliament group, you need support, so that if this government put all these protocols, they can pass on through you, and you pass it on to the ordinary youth. We applaud you for the work that you are doing. You should keep it up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron. Thank you very much for contributing to today's discussion.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is the exciting moment of today's conversation. I have two women who've joined in, which is amazing. Madam Manamo, I'll speak first because you joined in first, but I must say I'm very excited. This is the second time I'm having females, and this is the first time I'm having two females at the same time in one show. So I'm very glad. Good evening, madam. Please unmute your mic and talk to us. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Mumbi. How are you?
I'm very fine.
How is it going?
Well, here it's everything good, everything new, and everything unknown. How is it going there?
Not bad. Are we enjoying the atmosphere as young people?
Well, we're also enjoying our atmosphere here. You need to come in and join us, even if it's just for a day, and then you can go back so that you can also have your own testimony.
Don't worry. Mumbi, I have a lot of expectations to our new government. The first one is I expect the politicians in this new government to mentor young people into key positions. That's one expectation. The second one, I actually expect this new government to appoint a youth among those 8 ministers who are being appointed by the government.
Yeah.
And then I also expect most of young people to be appointed into key positions, in other ministries. Then the last one, I expect the new government to make sure that young people, especially those who leave school, they are also incorporated into companies. Like maybe where young people would be employed as volunteers, they are paid something for them to acquire experience, so that when it time comes for them to get employed, it will be easier for them. Even when somebody is asking for experience, this young person will be qualified for the job and has the experience they need. Then I also expect this government also to look at the pride of the young people who are on the streets, especially these same cadres we are calling cadres. I expect the government to find something for them so that we'll be able to work against this cadreism, because these are still our young people who are cadres. These are still young people who look for support from the government. So if we don't look into their pride, they'll still be on the street. And if anything, they'll be more harmful now because they don't have anything to do. So I really expect the government to come up with something for these young people. So those are few expectations. I really, really want the government to look into the pride of the young people and to prioritize the young people. And also young people should be involved in the key positions as well.
Yeah, you bring in a very sensitive issue that I have been talking about for quite some time now, and I'm glad that you've highlighted it. And the very best part is that you're actually even a female talking about it. So I want to ask you this question, ma'am. If it turns out that the government fails to uplift the pride of young people, what should young people do? Because I think young people have been crying for this for a long time, and we know that it's very necessary for our country's development and future security.
one of the things we need to do, the same way you've started, we need to start mobilizing young people. And we need to sensitize young people that they have the right to do the checks and balances and to benefit. They should also understand that as young people, they have the right to benefit to the national cake. So if we don't get what we want, and if young people don't get what they want, we have the right to march to the State House, or we have the right to march to Parliament and talk to our lawmakers so that they don't forget us. We are part of Zambia.
I definitely agree with that approach, and I really thank you that you brought up this issue. I wish we could have a long conversation about it, exclusively about young people and their inclusion. Please make sure you join in next time so that we see how we can progress with this conversation. And thank you so much for joining in.
All the best, and I'll keep on watching from the background.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye,
Okay, so the
love.
link has been posted in the comment section. I keep posting the link. So please try to keep checking the comments that I'm posting, and then you can use those to join in. There is a gentleman here. I don't know if it's me who can't see the picture or what's going on, but I hope I get to see your picture. It's either your network or something is wrong. But meanwhile, while I wait for the network to load, I want to bring in the lady here, Madam Aggie. How are you? I'm all right. Good to have you. I'm so glad that you are here too because you're female, and I'm looking forward to hear what you have in store for tonight's conversation. Okay, we seem to have lost Madam Aggie there. I hope she gets to get back into the conversation. Meanwhile, I'm failing to bring in this other person because of the network. But let's proceed with Mr. Musonda Philip. Musonda Munishanyuko, how are you? Thank you for joining in.
I will be here as well.
Mr. Msonda, are you able to hear me? It looks like your network is also quite bad. I hope you can get me. Okay, so I think Mr. Msonda has also lost his network. I don't know how I would get in touch, but his network looks quite bad as well. I'll try to remove him and then let me see if we can get some network from him while we are waiting. Okay. Mr. Msonda, are you able to hear me now?
I will connect. Hello, I'm hearing you, but the network is very bad.
Oh, okay. Okay, just don't move from where you
after
are. Your
some
network
time.
is. All right, please do so. Okay, I hope Madam Aggie has managed to join in. It looks like she's having a difficult time in joining in. But anyway, I'll add the gentleman here. Mr. Rocky, I've caught you off guard. How are you, sir?
Great. Hi. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you so much.
Wow. Great. How are you feeling?
Well, we
How are you feeling as a youth?
We're feeling happy. We're feeling new. We are feeling the new dawn.
Exactly. Yes. I think we are breathing, isn't it?
Most definitely.
Are you getting it?
Yes,
yeah.
I can get you.
Okay. Now, back to the question. My expectations to this newly elected government. The first one is very critical. Yeah. I think Zambia lost quite a lot of money through corruption, and I want to hasten and say that I expect the incoming president to allow the agencies that are actually taxed to probably take take charge in terms of following up on the corruption cases, more especially those cases that were mysteriously closed. For example, the 17 million US dollars that was actually used to buy drugs that were expired and the condoms that were expired. We expect that case to be followed to the latter. Also the case to do with the 42 fire tenders that were bought at $1 million US each. Those are supposed to be followed. The 48 houses that are built on commercial land and there's no owner. I think we need answers. Also, to mention the issue to do with the gassing. Okay. We lost about 50 people in extra, judicial killings, and so we need answers. Who was gassing citizens? We need those answers to be given to the Zambian people. Secondly, I do not expect the new government to bring in, recycled politicians into key positions of governance. It is time for young people with fresh minds to be able to take up the leadership now and be able to also do one or two things and contribute to the significant growth of this particular country. Lastly, the issue to do with cadres. We don't want to see cadres anywhere near trading spaces, anywhere near bus stations. Citizens need to breathe. This time around, citizens need to breathe. Let people trade freely. Let people go to these bus stations freely. The government has got a very huge mountain to climb, more especially when it comes to cadreism. I think I commend them for now. I think there's a little bit of sanity, but we need them to do more. So the expectations are very high. So I think for now, those are my submissions.
Mr. Roque, thank you so much. I'm glad about the issues you've mentioned. They're at the core of every well-meaning Zambian, and we need to keep teaching about them. Justice is given to our citizens. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining in, and please continue engaging with us from the comment section. Okay, so Madam Maggie, I hope this time your network doesn't disappoint me. I need to hear from you. Are you able to hear me? Please say something. Unmute your mic and say something to me, please. Okay. Madam, you need to hold yourself a bit because again you are terribly breaking. I need you to speak tonight, so I'm still going to hold you. I need you to settle your network and say something before I leave. I need a female to say something. Please, can you sort your network? I'm asking. Please try to rejoin. I need you to settle your network. I need you to say something, please. Is that okay?
Yes,
please do so. Unfortunately, I can't get so much from you. Okay, Mr. Kashiwa. Good evening, sir. How are you? I've caught you off guard as well.
Yes, apparently. Good evening. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, all right. Good to have you tonight. Quickly give us your thought because we're in the last minute, so you need to be fast. I'll give you in a minute if you can. I'll really appreciate that.
All right, great. So one of the biggest expectations I have for this running government, the one that just came in, is they really need to look into the private sector of allowing especially youths, upcoming people, to own businesses. So previously it was really hard for a startup person to actually register a company, own a company, or visualize their idea, because the policies that were in were quite hard to meet, because you find that a person like me will find it hard to pay tax, certain types of tax, and if I'm doing business in dollars to kwacha, I might find that situations might be hard for me to make conversions like that. So one of the things I would like to say is not everyone that can be employed by the government, understanding that Zambia is a limited nation, we have limited resources and the population is quite much. So in due time, the biggest thing I would want to encourage the government is they should, at least as much as possible, try to encourage entrepreneurship among youth, so that those that might not be so lucky to actually find employment in government, they can venture into entrepreneurship. They have their own running schemes, and in return, they can be able to employ their fellow youths. So they should try to make sure, as much as they balance employing and creating employment, they should also try to make the conditions favorable and suitable for young minds to unleash their talents and venture into entrepreneurship. So let them at least touch that part on policies to guide youths, and also empowerment schemes to help them meet up challenges. There is lack of funding across the board for most startup businesses, and if they can bring in an initiative that can help them, support them as they are growing, they can really fight the unemployment rate, because those same businesses that will be rising will also be employing other people. I don't know if I'm over a minute, and I'm still within.
You're over a minute, but you raised a very, very good point. You're straight to the point, and you've explained something so huge in such a short period of time. And that's why I applaud young people. Great submission, but I'll have to let you go. Be sure to join in next week so that you can be able to finish your thoughts. Meanwhile, Mr.
Okay, sure thing.
Mulanga, thank you so much for coming back. You are the last person appearing on my list, so please give me your thoughts. You're still within your time, but I want to give you one.
Okay, I'll be very brisk. Yeah. So initially, I was saying my expectations for the new government is that it puts atop its priority lifestyle audits, and then the other thing has to be asset declaration. Everyone going into government has to declare their assets, and these are public offices. Us as the public, we need to be privy to information like how much do MPs get paid. The same way we know the salary of the president, we need to know how much are MPs paid, how much are ministers paid, so that when we see a minister, like some minister in Ndola who used to throw money in the streets, throwing money at people, we'll be able to question that. You get this much. Where is this much money coming from? And then the other thing has to be conflict of interest. No minister should do business with government. No MP should do business with government, because they'll get an unfair advantage over other entrepreneurs. Because if I'm a minister and I walk into an office bidding for the same job that an ordinary citizen is bidding for, definitely that procurement officer will give that contract to me. So that conflict of interest clause has also to be a top priority. And lastly, please, I started off earlier before I got cut on corruption and graft. We need to do audit queries of all constituency development funds across the nation. We need to do audit queries. How much was spent? Does it justify? Every nail, every cement that was bought has to be justified for all CDF projects across the country. And the famous Presidential Empowerment Initiative funds, the one that we saw going across the country, that needs to be looked at.
There was a Presidential Empowerment Fund and the ECO Empowerment Fund in Chipata.
Those need to be audit queried. And I was very curious why the Electoral Commission of Zambia this time around did not declare the assets and the wealth of the incumbent president. That was very curious on my part. Why did the ECZ not declare the assets? Because you remember last time from 2015 declaration, it was 2 million kwacha. 2016, at 12 months, it was 22 million kwacha. Okay, so I wanted to hear how much it was. Anyway, but that's a story for another day. So what we need is asset declarations of MPs and ministers. And on the issue of cadres, you will agree with me. I'm actually in media. I work for a media house, and I've covered one or two road shows of the UPND. Okay, I covered those road shows, especially on the Copper Belt. So there are youths who identified themselves with what you call security, as it were with the famous security for the PF that ran bus stations and whatnot. So there are youths who were in security in the now new government, but they were in security of the opposition party then. But now it's so their expectations obviously would be as where the PF cadres. I don't know if you follow. Yeah. So now if you say no, cadres don't have to go into markets, don't have to go into bus stations, they are still unemployed. We have to figure in that. And they had expectations that once their own party comes into government, they would probably take over the bus stations. They would probably take over. Yeah, so they could have been one or two who had such expectations because they are unemployed. Our unemployment levels have gone through the roof. So so what do we do as a government? God has blessed this country with different opportunities. Luapula province has been blessed with rivers and serious lakes. Then we have donor funding agencies that will sponsor fish farming. Why would you bring fish farming to the Copper Belt where we do not know any fishing at all? I've been to Luapula myself. I've found little boys fishing. They know fish, everything about fishing. They know it. So why not take fish farming to Luapula? You empower them, you incentivize them there in Luapula. Then here on the Copper Belt, there's the famous Jerabo mining. There's that famous. You need to now empower them in a way that they are, because there's a reason why God blessed us with copper on the Copper Belt. You go to Southern Province, you bless them with livestock. You make sure, how can they better their skill of livestock and cattle rearing? How can they better it? You send experts to Botswana where they've excelled in cattle rearing, so that you bring whatever skills that they have amassed in Botswana, you bring it to Southern Province. So whichever province has got, we've got Mwinilunga with the pineapples, whichever province has been blessed with whatever is there, you bless them according to that. And you send the same young people we are talking about, the cadres, identify them, send them to Luapula, they start fishing where the rivers are. Send them to Southern Province, they start cattle rearing. We do something down those lines.
Won't finish. It's taken a whole different direction, which is very good. And it's a conversation that young people need to have. The last time I had such a conversation, which categorically cut provinces according to their wealth, was with my mom. So I'm amazed that you are having a similar thought, which is interesting. So now I'll have to say goodbye to you because we've run out of time, and I'll have to say goodbye eventually.
Thank you for this platform.
You have a good night.
Good night.
You have a good night. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, bye. Mr. Perry, I'm only bringing you because you've been in the background for quite some time, and I'm wondering what you want to say. Say it under 1 minute. I have to close the program. I'm 5 minutes into my time. Your mic is on mute.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that we are aware that HH met with Edgar Lungu, and my prayer is that he forgave him for the things that he did personally to HH, but not to the country. So we want our money back. That's what we want.
Perfect.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Agi, if you don't give me a submission this time, you have to forgive me. You are the last person. Please talk to me. Okay, unfortunately, we've lost her, meaning we cannot proceed with the program anymore. We are 4 minutes past the hour of 21. That's 9. Yes, we are 4 minutes past the hour of 9. It's been a great interaction with you, my people. We'll see you again the next time that we are going to meet. Please stay interactive and let's stay being awake citizens, doing a lot of justice to ourselves. Of course, we may come here and thank the many activists and many young people that put up a good fight. But let's remember that as citizens, we have a big job to fight ourselves for the things that we desire as a country. We saw an interesting union that happened between among the citizens during these elections, and I feel that is the same behavior that we must keep all the times when pushing agendas that are beneficial to citizens. We must normalize the idea of citizen journalism, citizen accountability, citizen justice. We must normalize that so that we can be able to be having the same conversations, the same we're having here, we can still be having them in the markets and many other places. We should be able to do mobilization without the usual people doing the mobilizing in our communities, everywhere we are. Let's continue doing the citizen mobilization to be talking about justice, human rights, equal opportunities, and things that matter for citizens, especially in this new government. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host tonight. My name is Mumbi Namwawa, and we'll see each other next time that I am going to appear on this screen to have another interesting conversation about our country. Remember, this program is brought to you by PAGS with support from OSISA. You have a good night.